Welcome everyone to the Toku Portal podcast. It's me, Zero, here with
Right, and I think I fixed the audio issue.
yeah. Hopefully there's no gain on that damn audio because otherwise it'll be really loud.
No, I deleted the game.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So Dr. Grid's in the chat. How's the audio? Is my audio coming in okay? Let us know. Also, Platinum may or may not be dropping by later on. They're kind of busy right now. Vashi also potentially dropping by. We'll see.
Probably not. If he's not here by now, then he's probably busy.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, this episode.
So, this episode is actually a good one. We had issues with last week's episode, but this one just kind of justifies it all in a way. So first of all, we pick up with that whole crowd surrounding Aruto and whatnot, and then Fua just walks in firing his gun just everyone get out of the way, because he is not taking going for any of this political or crowd psychology stuff. He needs to speak to Zaya, and that's what's happening. uh, because he can't accept the fact that he's a member of Metsubo Jinrai. Zero.
Yeah. Well, that is a good point. Also, we have two viewers, so I'm guessing might be Pixie, might be Platinum, who knows. Also, yeah, it has been a while, Dr. Good. Cool, good episode to join us on. Yeah, as for Fua, yeah, you're right. He really doesn't give a fuck
Yeah,
about
he doesn't care about anything else going on right now. Like, everyone out of my way, fires his gun in the air.
I know, right? Like, fuck it. I have an Ames badge, means I can do whatever the hell I want. It's like, oh my god. Normally I'd be like abuse of power, but I'm like at this point, like, fuck it. Everything's gone to shit. Like, this can't make it any worse, right? So that's great. Anyway, what did you think of Fua's actions, Rai and Chad?
Like, so just the way Fua steps in was really good. And then you have a guy proving that, oh yeah, no, Fua is under his control through the chip, and it's the same for Yua. Uh, so you were mentioning that people are getting really upset about how Yua hasn't been doing anything lately.
Well, it's that plus the whole thing of like now she might be mind controlled. And then plus she figures out that plus you figure out this episode that she's not mind control, but she acts like the mind control is not a threat to her. So she just goes on and on. It's like,
So
oh, these are my
okay,
actions. Like the point is she's acting like a typical like abuse victim.
that's just it though. Like, she is mind controlled. Um, if she steps out of line, then Zaya will put her back
Uh,
under his thumb, which is why she cooperates. So she is acting of her own will, even though that's not what she wants to do. Is she's
right.
doing it? She's willingly doing those things so that she's not being forced to do them. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's literally an abuse victim, justifying that the abuse.
Well, that's the whole point. Like typically an abuse victim does justify the abuse because like once you're in the cycle you can't really see what the fuck you're doing to yourself, and so like you has been so stuck. Like here's the thing, right? Like there's not even a guarantee that you even has a chip. I mean she might, but like at this point guy could have just told her he does, but he put one in Fua, so she believe she probably has one, in which case she's just kind of like falling into this hole
Well,
where
she
she's like she's
she
not even gonna
has
try.
she has one.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
um
uh, Zaya explained that that chip is the tool that allows them to use the shot riser to henshin.
right, but the thing is Fu is the prototype, so you probably might not have the full version. But then again, guys, the crazy. is a crazy
So
fucker, and you
the
wouldn't pass up the chance.
I fully believe that Yua's, just like Fuwa's, allows Zaya to control them both. The difference is that because Fuwa's is the prototype, his is the one that's able to be hacked by Metsubo Jinrai.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because
That's a good.
it straight up has Naki's motherboard in it, which is why they're hacking it to like make him do all those things. It's like that's why it's the prototype of like make sure this works and also, have a little backup plan in there for later.
Right. Um, yeah, one more thing. We should probably do a general rundown of what happened this episode. One, because we're kind of going to be a little bit scattershot, and two, because Dr. Grid apparently has not seen this episode,
Okay.
which is
So
fine, but it's a really good episode, so watch it.
so here's the rundown, right? The fifth challenge between Hiden Intelligence and Zaya Enterprise is a debate over whether or not New Daybreak Town should be rebuilt as the city where humans and human gear can coexist. Right now, Zaya has gained favor because he's a fucking asshole and is just basically slandering and bribing and hiring corrupt politicians and all that stuff. Play to win. Fua recently found out that he has a chip implanted in his brain that allows Metsubo Jinrai to hack him. This chip, Yua has one too, is what allows him to henshin with the Shot Riser. Fua's, specifically though, also has a chip in it that is a member of Metsubo Jinrai. Like, it's her AI chip. Her name is Naki. And so Metsubo Jinrai, like Jin and Hirobi, can hack into that and control Fua's actions. So someone, probably Zaya, was hacking into Fua to make him go around and hand out the raid risers to people so they'd go on a rampage. We actually don't know who it was, and now that I say it out loud, like, it might not have been Zaya because that would be inconsistent with some of his actions. So we don't know who it was. Maybe it was him, maybe it was someone else. We don't know. Jin used it to hack him to break out Hirobi, because Jin's new goal is just to liberate the human gear. He doesn't work for the Ark anymore.
Yes, that's a pretty much distinct breakdown of
Now,
what's led up to this. It seems Dr. Grid is way more behind than that, but it's fine.
so to go
Which
a
is
bit
fine.
further,
No,
so
no, no, it's okay. We don't have to keep recapping.
well, no, because now I'm getting into this episode more
Yeah,
specifically.
cool.
So Fua is having a kind of identity crisis right now with the fact that he's actually technically a member of Metsubo Jinrai. He's also pissed off about it because he's basically being treated like a tool, and he is not okay with this. Zaya himself, like, forcefully takes control of him and makes him attack Aruto. This gives the implication that, like, Yua is in the same position, that, like, Zaya can just straight up hack her chip and make her do whatever he wants himself. Yua, however,
Yeah.
insists that she is not a tool and that she's acting as she pleases. And her behavior is very consistent with that of an abuse victim insisting that they're not being abused.
Oh yeah, that is so true. I mean, like honestly, one, that's very true, and two, it's like holy shit, the acting in this episode is so damn good. Also, whoever directed this, fucking give that person a raise. Also, the CGI department, because damn, like fucking everybody did like such a good job this episode. Um, but yeah, as for the whole thing with the chip and brain control, is like yeah, it's fairly justifiable that you was acting like this because
It's like,
you know, like yeah, she's like some freedom is better than no freedom, but
right.
like she's kind of tricked herself into doing exactly what Guy wants, so she pretty much has no freedom.
That's exactly it. Like, she's tricked herself into thinking that if I willingly do it, then I'm not being forced to do it.
Right.
To try
And
and make it sound okay to shield herself from how horribly abusive this is.
yeah, it's true. And the the thing is, like, as for story, like, this episode's really well written, like, really well
Oh,
written
this
because
is
it ties.
the best episode in Zero-One, easily.
Yeah, episode 29 definitely. Um, 'Cause it ties in so much stuff, but I can kind of see the point of view for the fans who are dumping this show because, like, first female writer and then or who's lived so long and then you just turned her into like typical love interest character problem of writer, which is like she's kind of useful early on, and then like as shit goes on she becomes basically a damsel in distress, which is like a really bad pattern that writer has, and this is continuing it. So I'm kind of do see their point
So,
of view of not continuing. Like, yes, this story justifies it, but I can kind of see why they don't want to stick around because they've seen this happen to so many characters. They don't want to see it happen to
well,
Yua. So I
honestly,
can't blame them from jumping ship, but yeah, the story did just take a very interesting turn.
so like I wasn't happy that Yua stopped getting attention when this arc started either, but I decided to give the show the benefit of the doubt of like they got a lot of other things that are going on. They wanted to condense their focus for a bit. And then this episode gives the explanation of like, yeah, no, Yua's actually being basically being manipulated, which is something that I was suspecting based on her behavior in the past, anyways. That like this actually makes me more interested because it makes me want to see Yua break out of this and redeem herself.
Right. I do see where you're coming from, but I also have to agree where, like, from their point of view, it's like, okay, great, you got first female writer, and her story is she can't do jack shit. And like, yeah, it makes me want to see her become free, but we've seen that story going for like 10 plus episode, whereas Fu was like, shit, brain control. Oh, actual brain control. Oh, new power up? Well, fuck brain control. I'm back to normal. One episode. Right? Whereas like Yua's made no progress. And so the thing is,
Because
like, I could see them. I don't know. I know it, like story wise, we can stick with it, but like I can see people's frustration where it's like, hey, I'm not I went through drive, I'm not gonna fucking get my hopes up. So like, I'm that's as far as I can see. I'm giving them, like, I'm just playing devil's advocate here for those people. Like, I'm not saying dump the show, but
like
I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you to watch if this is pissing you off.
to me that just seems like an extreme reason to drop the entire show, though.
Dude, okay, this is Kamen Rider. Have you seen the fans? Like, they will dump a show for basically anything,
Uh,
right? Like,
like
like
you guys here on the podcast are basically the only people I talk to this show about. But yes,
yeah,
I have seen certain online comments about people just absolutely trashing like a show that just started. Or just
yeah.
like in like I'll walk away from an episode like, yeah, I enjoyed that, and then like I'll see like comments on like Reddit about like people like, man, that was horrible.
I know that's the funniest thing. And
Like I
the
did the
big
same thing for Key Ranger, but like still, yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, I understand that too, but well, the first major thing is most people don't know how to, honestly, like, most people watch a show and their final conclusion is, did I enjoy this? Yes, no, continue. Right? They're most people don't sit down and like analyze the structure of the thing. I mean, like, maybe they do a little, but like we do it like on a weekly basis. So like we're just like, well, I can see where this fucked up, but I can see maybe where this is going or it's not.
Again,
Uh,
so I guess what this comes down to is that I am a lot more carefree than other people. Like I have a lot lower standards, and I'm not saying that as like a good thing or anything. It's like, nah,
yeah.
I'm just a pretty casual person. So like I sat through all of Zio, and like even if I was into the podcast, I would have sat through Zio anyways to finish it to see what happened, and then walked away disappointed.
Oh god. So like Zio's one of those things where I'm like, this show is not good. Honestly, like if it wasn't for the podcast, I would have dropped that damn show. Um, but oh, also Dr. Grid says, this is why I've been avoiding Toku Twitter best I can. I'm like, yeah, it's
Oh yeah,
fucking
no.
true. Dude, I have Twitter. I fucking don't look at it. because like I'm like, oh, I actually kind of respect you as a person on YouTube, and then you read their Twitter, and like 5 seconds in, you're like, God, all respect going down constantly. I'm like, fuck it, not worth it. Or that plus like the it takes like two replies to get to some like racist homophobic garbage on Twitter. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, I thought YouTube was bad. Uh, but holy crap, Twitter is terrible. Um,
You know, I'm
yeah,
I'm
it's also
very picky about who I follow on Twitter. So I
well,
don't. So like I always hear about like the worst things on Twitter. I never see any of it as myself because I avoid that.
yeah, like I'm honestly I try to not even look at Twitter. I'm like, okay, this I kind of need to look at Twitter because this might show me when somebody's scheduling something. Like, oh, okay. But the problem is like those tend to be like political channels. I'm like, well, it's just gonna take like 5 seconds before some idiot opens their mouth. Um, also, what the fuck was I on about? Yeah, it's Dr. Grid's like at least the fandom isn't like this in Japan. I'm like, maybe, not even sure, because one, we don't read that much Japanese, and two, yeah, they're probably a little more chill, but I don't know. There's no like I don't have enough experience to say what's going on. The other thing too is humans are really bad at interpreting what the fuck written text means because it doesn't have any emotion. So like you can see like somebody could just type out something and you can read it and think like holy shit, this person was just like going like 100% and ripping the show apart, and they're just like pointing out basic facts. Or maybe they just typed it out when they were pissed, but they're not really super pissed. So it's like it's kind of hard to judge emotion, but like when you just read it, it's like chunk of bad news after chunk of bad news. It's like it's not the best. But as for this show, yeah, this was really good episode. Like if like I can see the Yua thing getting real annoying. Like honestly, I'm fucking gonna give up on her in like 5 episodes if she doesn't get her shit together. Because like 35 episodes into a show, if you can't get your crap together, like I have no hope for you as a character. So she
Okay,
gets like so she
she
gets 5 episodes from me.
she had her shit together when she was allowed to actually do what she wanted. Like, hey, go work for Ames and go help them out. Then Zaya put her on a leash again. It's like, all right, now I need you with me, and
No,
that's
I
when.
know like story wise it makes sense, but I'm like you're writing a show for the new era of Kamen Rider, right? Like don't make it so your main female writer is just some like throwaway character. And like honestly, it's like yeah, you can say the storyline makes sense. I'm like yeah, it makes sense, but I'm like again, it's being written down. This is not
Well,
real life
what I'm saying is, like, you
where you
said
have to stick around.
35 episodes in, you need to get your shit together. I'm just saying, it's like, taking into consideration that, like, she had her shit together and now is on a break, and we're probably cycling back into that.
Well, hope okay. So this is one of those other interesting things is like are we even gonna get to 35 right now because of what
Okay,
happened? Yeah.
so I was going to wait until after the podcast to discuss this, but basically, here's the situation. Uh, Toei Studios has closed down because one of their actors was tested positive for coronavirus. Uh, because the symptoms can remain dormant for up to 2 weeks before becoming active, that actor could have potentially spread it to any number of crew members unknowingly and unintentionally. Uh, so when the studio eventually does reopen, it comes down to a matter of how many episodes did they have in the backlog. I believe that they record episodes about a month in advance, so we're probably set through April. So when they do get back, let's say they get back around the end of April, there will be a hiatus while they get back into motion. However, I believe that from there it will be business as usual, assuming that there were no severe casualties of the virus.
Yeah, I just thought of something, right? Like if this actually happens, should we just give them a 2 week break and then Ryder goes back to the original Ryder schedule or two
Or
month break?
or rather the intended schedule.
Yeah, the one without a supreme Christmas rush. Oh
Um,
God.
so, yeah. So what I believe is the most likely scenario is that they'll air whatever backlog they have for now, and then go on hiatus when they get back to work while they, catch up again. So we could be looking at 2 weeks to a month of a hiatus at best.
Yeah, I mean the other thing too is um will they cut the show short because they have like a time slot and the next show that's going to come in after them will probably have the same time slot, but then again Rider usually ends and another season begins, so they might not have to worry about cutting
So
episodes short.
here's the thing: they wouldn't need to cut the show short because that just gives the next show more time to get prepared before this one ends. Toei has actually had an issue in the past where the current show ends and then the next one's not ready to air yet, so they have to just throw more shit together for the current show. Decade and
uh,
Wizard are notable examples of this.
yeah, that's a good point.
So this
Dr. Grid.
actually, oh, it's gone.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead. Go.
I was gonna say this is just gives them an excuse to not have to worry about that because hey, this gives the next team I don't know when they pick the writers for the next series, but this does give them more time to prepare for that, assuming that they are have already started working on it, very early
Yeah.
pre-production.
Well, I mean, usually the next writer shows up in the winter crossover movie. So at least by then, or I mean, not the winter, the summer crossover movie.
So
So like,
around this time, they would probably have the new lead writer chosen, is what
or
you
at least like have an well, yeah, I guess they would have to have an idea of what the hell the new show is. Which case they probably have the next writer going, or
like
at least like this month, or maybe by April they probably will.
or even if they're holding their secret auditions for writers of hey, send us your scripts, this just gives those people more time to work on their scripts.
Yeah, that's what we would hope. Dr. Grid
I
also has a
Yeah, I have no idea how it actually works. Sorry, go on. What does
yeah, it's
Dr.
fine.
Grid say?
I mean, they have a point where they're saying, do you think they'll just do reruns in place while they're not doing episodes?
Maybe. I have
Maybe.
no idea how their TV contract works. I have no idea what that entails.
Yeah.
I know that they specifically buy out the time slots for superhero time. I have no idea what their
Yeah,
contract
because like
entails.
they have their own studios, but they don't have their own channel. They have their own theaters, but yeah, they don't have their own TV channels. So it is a good point. Like they're gonna have to
Uh,
figure something out.
so let's give some speculations here. Assuming that their contract states that we get to air whatever we want, then they could decide let's air some reruns of the past arc just to satisfy the masses, or air some special old stuff hey, let's re-air that Super Sentai 4-part special thing we did. um
Well, yeah, Sentai is pretty well covered because like Sentai just has like so much shit. I mean, like they could literally run uh like okay, one of them like versus movies like every day or like well once a week, right? So like Sentai is well covered. The problem is writer because like all the extra writer shit is not family friendly, especially the new stuff.
well,
I mean, they could maybe do the oh, you know what? Dude, they could rerun Shinobi
they could, yeah, there you go, they could rerun Shinobi.
because it's a web series.
Hell, they could rerun miscellaneous episodes of Decade or Zio just to satisfy the masses, since you could jump in on just given episodes of those as one-offs.
Dude, you know what I would love to see? The fucking SD special for for Rider with like RX, and like it's just the SD versions. Oh my god, that's so good. Like
Uh,
fuck, they should totally
Another thing you mentioned, like old movies, like yeah, if they have the time slots to do it, they could just decide like, hey, here's some old Rider movies or old Sentai movies, or like, hey, we're gonna do Godspeed Love this week or
Oh
something like
well,
that.
yeah. I mean, you have to remember it's still a kids time slot, so they could run the '90s movies. Well, not Shin, but the other two, because you could probably chop those up into like three-parters, and they would be fine, and they're pretty family friendly. At least like Zero is. So like I mean J maybe, but Zero definitely you could rerun.
But like
They're saying why not Dr. Grid's like why not air Shower Rider movies? I'm like maybe, but like Toei is trying to kind of,
oh, okay, so Zero's Discord just disconnected on him. Um, in fact, I'm not sure if you guys can even hear me right now. Okay, yeah, it looks like I'm still going through. Okay, so uh, another thing that they could do with those time slots would actually be to, if we're going with like old movies, the Kamen Rider versus Super Sentai movies. Like, why not just throw them both in there? In some cases they might have to like break them up into episode segments, like Zero said, or depending on how things work in the TV industry, like maybe they could get extended time slots to like, just air the movies. I have no idea when Zero is going to be back. I don't really care to do podcasts alone because then I'm the only one talking and I have to satisfy the masses and I don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of, and thank God Zero is back.
okay, I literally talked for like 2 minutes and now I'm like, oh shit, Discord's gone.
um,
I was
so,
like, what the hell happened?
wh-
Yeah,
wh-
so I what did I say?
I don't know, but while you're gone, I said, hey, you know what else they could do? The Rider versus Sentai movies.
Dude, that's what I was thinking too. I also thought like they could do web series because there's a lot of them and they're
Oh, yeah.
pretty fun. Like
Uh,
definitely like there's a lot like
so
there's a ton of web series.
possibly, like, just throw in the Hyper Battle
Yes,
DVDs.
that's what I was thinking too. They're so damn random. That'd be great. The Hyper Battle DVDs. Oh my god.
Uh,
Yeah.
so,
Anyway,
so basically, worst case scenario is that there is a hiatus, but for now, like, if that happens, uh, we'll be fine. Because we can still will for the podcast, we can still like find things to talk about if we want to keep doing our regular thing. So like most likely scenarios that we'd probably drop to one podcast a week of like, hey, let's talk about our, I don't know, top 10 favorite rider series.
yeah, there's that. Or we could just do like community things where it's like, hey, it's showing, we'll just sit and talk about Rider and stuff. If not, like, there's a lot of fucking Rider movies and shit. Also, Garo movie just dropped,
Oh
so
yeah, like I've never seen Garo, so one thing we could do is be like, hey, explain Garo to me, and we'll see how
well,
that
it's
goes.
yeah, I was gonna say it's pretty short, but I'm like, man, the first season's kind of boring too.
I don't
But
know.
yeah, you're right. Actually, I haven't seen the newest movie. We'll see. But yeah, Garo is a fun series.
All right. So back to Zero-One. Um, so ultimately, the vote fails, and Naruto actually loses the contest. Zaya Enterprises buys out Hidden Intelligence.
Dude, this was like the biggest shock.
Right?
Well, I mean, not the biggest shock, but like, holy shit, it's kind of heartbreaking seeing how hard like Arto is working, and like he's literally out on the streets trying to like do anything he can. and people like totally ignore him or just like tell him off for like saying like, "Hey, why would you want the human gear? They're just gonna take our jobs and shit." Which interesting point about automation. I mean, like honestly, automation right now is putting workers out of business, but that's because it's like workers against products, where it's like realistically it should be making all our lives better because like less labor needs to be done to make the thing. Fucking capitalism. Um, but but
Uh,
um,
so like I said before that this would be the more interesting route, and I was like last week I was even starting to feel expressed out like I really don't feel like they're going down this route. Where would they go and what would they do with this plotline? Well, now here we are in the unexpected timeline, and I am absolutely down for this.
yeah. Um, okay, no, this didn't have. Wait, did it have a crossover with Zio?
It did, yes.
Yes,
Uh,
and then I was getting a movie.
and Deno is getting another movie that crossovers
So
with Pretty
so
Cure.
yep. So how much for time travel bullshit caused this? Right? Like as soon as you see Deno show up for anything, it's like, God damn it, it's you fucked something up, didn't you? Fucked it so up. Pretty Cure has to come up and clean your mess.
Well, here's the thing: like a couple of high school, or not even high school girls, a couple of like middle school girls kidnap Momotaros.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, to be fair, Momotaros is that kind of idiot who would just go with it. Like, okay, let's see where this goes. For the
Uh,
bit, like he could totally escape, but he's probably just
yeah,
there, like,
like he absolutely
I'm
could
bored.
escape, but like they got him tied up, and they're just kids, and he doesn't want to like hurt them.
Oh God. I would love to see a crossover with Putrine at some point from like the Wizard movie, but I'm like, fuck that, it's not gonna happen. It would have been so perfect too. Um, but yeah, Arta lost a damn company. Holy shit.
So,
Like this. Okay, is this show just like Kabuto and Faiz and Xaid in a blender now? Because I'm feeling like this show is Kabuto, Faiz, and
all
Xaid in
right,
a blender.
okay. So hold on. Let's break that down. What about this reminds you of Kabuto?
It's mostly the chip.
Oh, the red shoes.
Yeah, the red shoes.
Nah. I guess I see where you're coming from, but like, that's a pretty loose connection to my book because the red shoes were basically like a last resort measure to like force the riders to keep fighting after they would have normally
Right.
stopped.
I know, but Ames is basically Zect, right? So I'm like, well, it's pretty much Kabuto right there, at least half of it. Um, and then like Xaid because the same writer, so you just
Yeah,
get the Xaid flavor and
this show is basically like a weird alternate universe X8.
yeah, pretty much right. And then Fies because like holy shit, there's like just so much Fi shit going on. I mean, basically like Hidan and Zaya are just like weird smart brain. Plus like all the other shit with like, oh, you had this driver thing and like the alternate personality shit and like people coming back. Like there's so much like Fies nonsense going on in the background. Um, plus I'm also on this Fies train because like guy's actor said he got really inspired by Fies. And like where is that damn
Oh, the interview, it's over in the general chat on
okay.
Discord.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's see what he says.
he says his favorite Kamen Rider is Fies. Um, he he bases his acting on Frieza from Dragon Ball, Gendo from Evangelion, and Kamen Rider Kaiza.
That's so good, man. Also, I love how it's like I love how he's so in character. He knows when I see and he says he likes seeing comments like I really hate guy or Amatsu guy. he thinks awesome because it's like, yes, I did my job
Right.
well. I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? That's a good
Fuck
actor.
yeah, nailed it. I make a great villain.
That's so awesome. Um,
And he
but
actually
like,
stopped watching Ghost because he felt frustrated at seeing people of similar ages acting in Kamen Rider.
yeah, that is a good point because like Ghost, I know you haven't really seen Ghost, but like Ghost is one of those shows where it's like the vast majority of the cast is just like Arto's age, right? Or younger. So it's like it's just young people everywhere. I mean, like it's very interesting because they're pretty proactive. Like so they don't have the Zio problem of like, well, they just sit around like have shit fall into their lap. So they are pretty proactive, which is great. But yeah, there's like barely any older people in that show. It's kind of insane. Um, like the only two reoccurring one is um oh man, the old shopkeeper lady who makes them food and Alan's dad. Oh, also the sage.
Isn't
Um,
isn't Ghost big motivation that he wants to come back to life so he can eat food again?
oh well, it's not food. He just wants to have like like because he's dead, like he can't really connect with his friends and stuff. So he just wants to just have like a more familiar thing. So it's like he just wants to like have a meal with his friends, kind of thing. It's just like reconnecting. It's not really that he wants to eat food. Like he's not fucking like Goku or Luffy or any of that shit. Where it's just like, oh my god, food. Like no, he's not that. It's just he just wants to have like reconnect with his friends again and be like a normal kid. Like he appreciates the small things now because he can never do them. Right? It's just like that. Um oh also I was watching Kaiju Nakami's what's the word, group panel whatever. They did like vlogs on Zero-One and like man I've been focusing so hard on the shocker thing I totally forgot to just like notice guy. I'm like yeah it's so obvious but it's like yeah he's just a narcissist. I'm like god damn it,
Yeah,
it's so fucking obvious, why
you
didn't I
didn't
point this
catch
out?
that.
Well I caught that but it's like I didn't point it out also. He is a narcissist but the thing you have to know about narcissists is there's four different types of narcissists. So there's the grandiose, the malignant, the covert, and then there's like social or whatever. There's another one, right? And so basically, the like grandiose is like your classic narcissist. So like imagine like Dan from X8, right?
Hmm.
Where it's like, hey, I'm so great. Why isn't everybody fucking paying attention to me? You're all beneath me. That kind of person. That's grandiose. Malignant is Guy. So it's basically like, hey, I'm good what I'm doing. You're all beneath me, and like, how dare you fucking, deny my greatness type of thing. So it's like he's fairly like he's pretty functional, and you can kind of ignore it. It's just when you piss him off or you slight him, he just turns violent as fuck. Like you see it, like whenever he's like Thouser, like that's the prime example, right? Like he's good at what he does. He's very logical and sensible. It's just when he starts getting beaten, he just loses his shit. And basically, that's what a malignant one is, where it's like they're really good at manipulating people to do what they want, but if things start going bad, they just start losing it, right? The covert one is basically like I could have been great. It's just uh, it wasn't my time. So like the people keep like apologizing for it. It's like I could have like if it wasn't my time, I couldn't succeed. I'm trying to think of a writer character like this. Um, I'll come back to that. But then there's like another one, which is the social one, which is like people who look like they're trying to help people, but secretly it's all just to get praise and be about them. So like if you've seen like BoJack Horseman, there's the like white tiger billionaire guy, like Sinclair or whatever, and he's basically like he's going and saving people, but it's all just so he can get fame and shit. So basically, like if you think of like the first Zabi from Kabuto, right, where it's
Yeah.
like he's really nice and his like team really likes him and he does all this shit, but Kabuto just straight up calls him out on his bullshit. He's like, you're only doing this because you want the praise, right? It's like that's a type of narcissist, and
Question.
yeah, yeah.
Who in Kabuto wasn't a narcissist besides Kagami?
I don't know. I mean, Drake was okay.
Was he though?
Oh, he was. What do you mean? Fuck you. I will not stand for
The
you to
fucking
talk.
whole womanizer thing.
What are you talking about?
Drake's appearance, his debut in the show, is he challenges Kabuto to like, I bet you I can get more prettier women than you.
I mean, I don't remember this, but that's fucking hilarious. To be fair, like Drake is basically the closest rival Kabuto got because he like sticks around. So like you kind of have to be a weirdo to be even in Kabuto's league. Uh, so I kind of let that pass. Oh man, trying to think of a character. Oh, oh, the first Garon from Blade, where
Oh
it's
right,
like,
the
right,
that
if
guy.
it wasn't for you, if I had the right genes, I could have been perfect. I would have saved everyone. Like constantly like, hey, the world was against me, it wasn't my time, that type of shit. Like if he wasn't murdering people, he'd basically be like the perfect version of uh that type of narcissist. Um anyway, so yes, psychology aside, what the hell were we talking about this episode?
So we're moving on to how Thouser has now bought out. I kept calling fucking Thouser Zaya. I just realized this
Well,
entire
you did
podcast. I
like
did
once or
it like
twice.
5 times. I
No,
like
incorrect.
I just no. I serious. Like I usually call him Thouser because that's his writer name. I just realized every time this podcast I called him Zaya.
Well, I remember at least twice, but whatever.
Uh, Anyways, so Thouser bought out Hidden Intelligence, um, and as such, he is going to shut down, not only shut down all Humagear operation, but shut down all currently active Humagear. Naruto tries pleading with him to let them live and try to find a way for them to live together, and Thouser isn't having it and gives Fua the order to take out Izu because Fua is still resisting him and he wants to show Fua's like, no, you belong to me, I have you, I own you. Fua resists, and so Yua goes to fulfill the order. Actually, do I have that right? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yes I
she
do.
does. She does. She's like, well, if you're not gonna do it, I'm just gonna do it. And I'm like, this is such a fucked up version of this, where it's like, hey, I don't want you to keep hurting, so I'm gonna do it. She's like, she's trying to protect Fua, but like, instead of attacking guys, she just does what he says. And it's like, yeah, this is not great. I mean, like, it makes sense for the character and for the trauma, but like, fuck, this is not good.
Well, we get into the really good part following when Aruto is trying to protect Izu and he's having to fight both Thouser and Yua at the same time. And then Fua steps in with the new upgrade that Zaya or Thouser just gave to him. Rampage Vulcan. Uh,
Yeah, which is, I mean, like if he didn't have the mind control, I'm like, why are you giving him a power up? But like, this makes perfect sense.
right. And so here is the best example of character development because Fua protects Izu, a
Oh man,
Humagear.
you're like rushing right up.
No,
Okay, yeah, I'll look back. Continue.
this is what happens. Like, he Because like Yua is going to perform the like killing blow on Izu, and before he henshins, this is before he uses the new power up. He jumps in to protect her because and he even realizes himself of like there's no reason to kill Izu. She did nothing wrong, and this is a character whose whole thing was that he hates the human gear and he'd rather be done with them. And he's finally realized there's no point in that. There's no point in destroying them. It's not going to accomplish anything. He's actually
Yeah.
grown as a character to realize that, like, this
Oh,
isn't it.
yeah. I also realized why I was thinking Fies. It's because Yua and Fua started talking about dreams and shit. And that's kind of like a running theme in Fies. But yeah, you're right. We did skip some stuff, but
What did we skip?
no, it's fine.
No, like,
Well,
I'm serious. Like, what did we
okay, okay,
skip?
okay. We skipped the part where it's like you figure out like why Fua was able to like Guy basically explains like, hey, didn't you think it was weird that you could use a power up that only Matsubo Jinrai could use?
Yeah, I did skip over that.
Right, and then they explain that like yeah, Fua's chip has the AI
I
from a human
explained
gear,
that part though.
right? From an AI that was sent to work with Hidan from the old town because you see the old headset, and I guess he was Guy's assistant, and Guy put his chip in Fua's head to allow him to henshin, and that's why he's like super obedient because I guess that human gear AI is super obedient to Guy. I was like, that's fucked up, but I'm like, well, at least we have a trajectory for where that character arc or thing is gonna go. Um, yes, and then yeah, Fua jumps in and he's like, yeah, I don't have a dream or whatever, but like my old dream was just to destroy all the human gear. I don't think that anymore, so I'm gonna live to come up with a better dream, and he just tells you to do the same.
And
Oh,
that
he also says, "I'm not gonna listen to you until you knock this shit off," with like following Guy's orders blindly.
and that is character
Yeah,
development.
yeah, it's for Fua. It's such a good moment. Um, but again, it kind of undermines Yua's shit because I'm like, Fua literally did it in a day.
That's because Fua is fucking barbaric and refuses to listen to anyone. Okay?
I
This
know.
is someone who, day one as a rider, took a progress key that was locked shut and he didn't have permission to open and cracked it open like an egg so he could use it.
Yeah, yeah. I do love that fucking video of Yua just spinning her damn progress
Right,
key with like a fidget spinner, and he was having the hardest time just opening it. So I'm like, oh my
like,
god, God, I want to see that Yua in
it's
this
like,
show.
because, like, so trying to compare Fua is like, oh, Fua does it in a day. Why couldn't you do it like that? Because they are different characters and they are different people. And Yua has submitted herself to this, whereas Fua refuses to do that.
Yeah, I do agree that is what's happening.
They
It's just
have different
it's really
situations
annoying.
going
No, I
on.
know, I know, I know, but it's really annoying that like first major female writer and that's the story arc you choose for her, which is crap.
I
But
I can I
at
can
least
agree
it's
that like okay, it's super sexist. I get that. But
oh
don't
yeah.
be like, why didn't Fua Yua just break out if Fua could when they're completely different people?
I mean, considering Fua seems to be like directly setting himself up to try to break Yua out of her mind control nonsense, at least this should accelerate her process from breaking away from Guy.
This should actually
Hopefully,
kickstart it.
yeah, because
She
this
hasn't been
fucking better.
trying.
Yeah, I mean, like yeah, you're right. Like this definitely feels like the beginning of her arc to break free. Um,
Basically, we're looking at an arc where everyone just kind of looks at each other and goes, can we all agree to just deal with this one asshole first and then go back to fighting each other?
it's so true. Well, you would agree that is the point, but then the problem becomes it's like, well, like now it's Yua versus Fua, Guy versus Aruto, and Hirobi versus Jin. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Um,
I actually. Oh, yeah, I did skip over that one. I meant to do that
well,
one.
that's at the end, but
No,
yeah,
that
you're right.
was early on. That was before this
Is it?
part. Yeah, Jin calls Fua over to him so he can try
Oh,
to
right.
break the human gear out of his brain, and Hirobi steps in and stops him because, hey, no, the Ark wants him to live. We can still use him.
Yeah, that is so interesting because like Hirobi is still just like 100% whatever the arc wants, and Jin is not. In which case, who the fuck built him?
That we don't know because
Because his ears are
you
different.
his ears are different. He's not connected to the Ark, so it wasn't the Ark. And by extension, he directly went against Thouser, so it wasn't Zaya who rebuilt him. It wasn't Hidden Intelligence because Aruto would have programmed the evil out of him. We don't know
Yeah.
who
Well,
rebuilt
Arto
Jin.
thought he was dead, so they wouldn't even give a shit.
Right. So no one who we currently know has the capabilities to have fixed Jin makes
Yeah.
sense.
Right. I mean, clearly it was Foundation X.
Clearly.
Clearly, even though they're not like Shocker is more likely to show up in this show than Foundation X.
You keep going back to Shocker. It's not going to happen.
Okay, I thought we had like Vashi's like episode 38, Shocker showing up. I'm like, okay. But
I don't
at this
believe
point,
Shocker is coming.
yeah, I mean they could. I'd be fine with it. Well, how did Guy become an android then? Or a cyborg?
Hidden Intelligence.
No, he didn't make him.
Mm,
Because he was already that young when he met Arto's grandfather.
yeah, he was that young at the time. We don't know
Uh,
when his surgery was. Because that
yeah,
photo
that's
was
a good point.
taken 20 years ago.
Yeah,
His
that's a good
actual age
point.
is 45. His whole thing is that he's an eternal 22-year-old.
Oh,
Like,
44, 24. Yeah.
so, but like, so yeah, like, basically, that photo just wasn't necessarily taken at the first time they met either. Like, Hida Intelligence could have totally been the one to reveal to him.
Maybe. It's going to be interesting. Also, yo, what if it's Arto's grandfather? Because did you notice his painting is green?
What does that mean?
Well, everybody in the show has colors, right? Like Hidan has blue, but Junrai has uh Zaya has whatever the fuck they want, but usually it's like red or
Gold.
blue. But yeah, gold or red. I mean on the specs and the shit. But yeah, they have like all over the place. But Jin is green. Uh so and then they focus on like Arto's grandfather's painting and it's got this green background. I'm like are we having a Blade moment where it's like this character we thought is dead comes back and he's the one who built that thing? I'm like, well, or I guess Fize has that too. Um, possible. I mean, it'd be weird, but who knows at this point? Because like his grandfather is in the intro, but like it makes sense for him to be. But his dad's in the intro, but he's also in the movie. So it's like, whatever. Who knows? This is probably random ass speculation. But if it is his grandfather, I called it then.
That'd be
But
crazy considering this series rather opened up
opens up with him dead.
with his like, hey Aruto, your grandfather's dead. Come read his will.
Right. Well, maybe the thing is like he almost died, but he survived. Like guy probably tried to kill him or something. Uh, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Or whatever faction helped build guy could do it, but who knows? But let's get back to the best thing in this episode. The holy shit, how amazing was all the choreography in this? Like
Vulcan
so many,
Rampage Gatling.
dude, like so many insane shots. Did you see that fucking drone shot where like Yura gets knocked back with the attack and the drone shot is flying over her while she's like getting flipped back? I was like,
Dude.
holy crap, that's amazing.
And like Fua's whole thing when he henches that he like punches the bullet or like backhands it or like
Yeah.
at one point he like catches it and crushes his head. For this henshin, he fires like 8 bullets and at
Yeah.
himself, and like, who needs to deflect a bullet when you can just take it like a man?
Yeah, that was pretty great. I mean, it was also amazing how the CGI team did for like when like Arto gets attacked and stuff and they're like turning around while the henshin is going on. I'm like, holy shit, the CGI department's come so far. Uh and like all the other attacks and stuff and like dude, whoever shot this, such an amazing job. Man, like the script's on point, the acting's on point, the effects are on point, the damn like directing, the cinematography, like fucking amazing. But that fight though, at the end, holy shit, his power up is insane. Like it's that power up that the hero gets where it's like he gets all the previous forms except the secondary guard at this time. And it's as busted
Right?
as you would think it is.
Like, this is actually something we don't get for the secondary riders.
Yeah, I mean, we might get okay, usually we do, but that's in like the movies, like the V cinemas or whatever, where it's like, oh right, you get a
It,
movie, you get your power up, and it's just a copy of the final form that the writer has, which is just all the forms at once, which is not great. But this is so much better, and it's also super unique too, right? Because it allows him to use two abilities. Also, the wing, like Jin's wing thing, helps out so much. Like it allows him to fly. It like braces him when he's trying to do his like finisher and stuff. Man, so good. Whoever designed this thing, like honestly, usually I like Fool's forms the least, but this thing is fucking great for like for just a Gestalt form where it's like all the crap thrown onto one form. This is pretty nice.
and he's got like, he like picks the three like to launch at them, and you get these fucking like O's medals that pop out. Like,
Oh, dude, yeah.
apparently we O's now,
Holy shit! No, we're Geki with the spirit beast and everything.
right?
Right. Comments. Whoever the hell's watching, what did you think? Oh, I guess you haven't watched it. Whoever else has watched it, leave a comment. Um, also, Platinum, if you're listening, show up now or whenever. It seems like we're getting close to the end.
Yeah, we're
Um,
almost at the end actually. We got like a couple
yeah,
more notes left.
right. Um, hmm. What do you think's gonna happen? Like, do you think they're gonna get the AI out of um Fua, or are they gonna keep it in? Because lately Ryder's been doing this thing where it's like two people in one body thing, right?
So the surgery needed to remove that chip from Fua's brain, with the knowledge that like that would take away his rider powers, since he wouldn't be able to use the shot riser anymore. Plus, it would take away some of his upgrades since that's the only reason he can use some of those. Uh, just from a narrative perspective, feels like it's more in the not really worth the risk category, as opposed to just finding a way to neutralize the threat from the outside.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't think about all that specifically because I'm like, well, it's an AI. You could technically just transfer it out, but you're right. It would like nerf all his forms super bad. Like even if you could henshin in base form, like he couldn't get up to this level. Um,
Which,
I mean, he could because bad writing, but let's hope that's not what happens.
so I think it's more likely that the chip stays in his brain and they just find a way to like make it not a problem that he could
Yeah,
potentially be
honestly, I
hacked.
hope they don't technobabble their way out of it. It would be nice if he talks his way out because like that would be so much more interesting.
I'm expecting something akin to how Arto can now control Metal Cluster Hopper because he's got the friendship sword.
Oh God, it's so true. It's just a friendship story. Um, but yeah, I mean, I actually kind of like him having like a thing like how like Emu and Peridot kind of talk, or Katsuragi and Sento. Dude, man, there's like so many. Well, I guess going all the way back, like Philip and Shotaro, because Fu basically looks like Shotaro. Um, it would be interesting. Um, yeah, like it would be way more interesting if they plan to talk it out. That way, like they can maybe get like, his form can technically get stronger because like oh well we're perfectly working in sync or whatever. Um, but like if they technobabble they were like I would understand it from a toy point of view, but like it'd be kind of cheap. Then again, like that chip is a member of Matsubo Jinrai, so like I could see them pulling it out because Matsubo Jinrai needs that. Or actually, that's not true. Matsubo Jinrai doesn't need that because the arc does actually wants him to keep it. They just want to turn Fua into the vessel, right? Whereas like Jin wants to take it out. So that's an interesting thing. Um, oh, also like I was watching like a different sub thing because like the link was down and the one you gave me like freaking Dropbox wasn't working for some goddamn reason. Like it wouldn't play. Right, in my version there's no pronouns. Um, did the TVN version just call her she or
Um,
them?
yes.
Did they?
I think so.
Interesting.
I'd have to double check, but like I'm pretty sure Naki has been referred to as a she.
Huh, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting because the character is like agender, so
Yeah,
that's
but so
weird.
are technically all the Humagear.
Yeah, no, I mean like the actor is.
Oh,
Um,
I
like
mean,
the actor is not non-binary, so um,
when you're playing a character in a show, I'm not sure that like your physical gender sh- really should have an effect on that character's gender.
maybe.
But like,
I feel like it would because that's probably why they cast him. But who cares?
like
We'll talk about it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Like it
fine.
could
I
also
mean,
just be like a translation thing. Like that
yeah.
was
Well, I was gonna say it's maybe they just used she and her pronouns and he and him and they and them. I don't know. Maybe they don't give a shit about pronouns, which is fine. Or maybe they have specific ones. We'll talk about it later, whenever they show. I don't even know if they have a Twitter account. I would have to go and check. Um, yes, whenever they show up more, we'll talk about it. Maybe next week. Maybe whenever they come out. Maybe if Platinum ever goddamn shows up. But
I mean,
whatever.
we're almost done, so
Yeah, probably not this. Like I guess they had a thing to talk about this, but like this character barely had any screen time this episode, so not much to talk about. Um,
what character?
Naki, but
Oh,
oh sorry. Yeah,
basically,
it's
it's
right.
unclear if they're actually the fourth member of Metsubo Jinrai or if they're just a proxy or what. But if they are actually the fourth member acting through Fua, then we could get some interesting stuff there. As he is, we've got like, let's see here, one, two, three, four different factions going on, and Fua is. Oh shit, we got five factions going on, and
Yeah,
Fua
five now.
is the wild card for all of them.
I know, right? It's great. It's so good. You know what the most interesting thing is? Like, it's like, oh no, Arto, you're not the president anymore. You don't have the belt. Next episode preview. Arto, please henshin and save us. I'm like, God damn it! Not even one episode, right? Like, you could have given us like a two-parter where he doesn't have the belt. I know it never happens because this is wrong, but like, it would have been the best time for Fua and
Do like
Hiro
a
to step
Fies
up.
thing where someone else has the belt for an episode.
Yeah, it would have been fine. Like, I know Thouser doesn't need it, but like, um, probably not. I mean, it's kind of also interesting that the vice president and those guys are sticking around. Like, hopefully they get some fucking character because goddamn,
Okay,
like,
you want to
there's
talk
no
about
reason.
giving up on a character? I gave up
Yeah,
on them like 20 episodes ago.
yeah. At this point, like, I don't even care. I'm like, why are you sitting around? You do nothing. Like, this is your last chance. If you don't get any character from this, fuck it. You are not worth my time. Um. hmm. Also, well, if all the Huma gear are gonna get scrapped, like, is his assistant? His assistant probably already got scrapped or like put away because
Oh
like you
yeah,
don't
no,
see her.
they're all getting scrapped, all of them. Izu, his assistant, all of them. It doesn't matter what their role was. It doesn't matter like how well they performed their function, how little or like free will they had. All the Humager are got to go, and Thouser has little concerns about illegally dumping them.
Oh yeah, Jesus. Next episode. Huh? Which I'm like, all right, this is just the breeding ground that the arc needs at this point. Because I'm like, oh yeah, just dump all the Huma gear. It's not like the arc can just rebuild them and like make an army now.
Yeah, so I'm in a This is a weird spot actually, where I want to say that this is the end of the arc right here. This is the end of like the challenge arc that we've been through. But I also don't know how much longer Thouser is going to stick around as the main antagonist. Because if he has like 2 or 3 more episodes before he actually like, all right, this is the height of his, you know, character arc, and now next comes his downfall, then of course I would say, all right, that's actually the end of the arc. But I don't know if there's actually going to be, we're actually transitioning, like, all right, we're going into another, like, 6 to 8 episode arc where everyone just teams up to kick Thouser's ass.
Yeah, I feel like that's happening because like honestly, it makes sense that he's still around, but it's kind of annoying that he's still around.
That is the last thing I wanted to talk about this podcast. Where do we go from here? How much longer can Thouser be the main villain before he's played out?
I mean, honestly, he's got one play, which is like, I'm going to destroy all the Huma gear. At this point, I'm like, oh, we have to stop him. The show's not going to be like, oh, all the Huma gear just now gone. Izu's the only one left. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I mean, if that's your show, then it just becomes like Arto, take Izu and run, right? Like you're no longer a writer, you're just Izu's bodyguard,
But like,
right?
what if he just pulls an Evolt on us and is like, all right, now that I can destroy all the human gear, here's what I'm going to do instead.
Well, I feel like he could, but I'm like,
He
he
doesn't.
has
We
no
already know
reason.
he doesn't, but still.
Like, he wants to make. Well, the thing is, we know he's not gonna kill them all because he wants the writer system to be his like actual thing that he makes, right? Because he wants them to be like military weapons and sell them and shit.
Well,
In which case, he needs evil
he's
robots,
he's
right?
leaving Metsubo Jinrai alone because technically he has no control over them. So he's
Right.
actually is like shutting down and dumping all the human gear that are contracted out under Hidden Intelligence. But hey, Metsubo Jinrai are rogue. He doesn't know where they are. Therefore, they're still out there somewhere.
Okay. Holy shit.
What is all that? Um,
Okay. This is insane. So breaking news, I guess.
yeah, breaking news. Shell Factory got the rights to uh, a bunch of different Toku properties, including Kamen Rider Black.
Oh, oh, fuck you,
Oh,
Draco, you piece of shit.
shit. I honestly
God.
forgot it was April Fool's Day.
You piece of shit. Oh my god. Oh, it's so good too. I'm
Oh my
like,
god.
honestly, you could have gotten a
Because,
fucking
like,
like a
I was
supersonic metal song.
I was
God
like
damn.
glancing at like the Senda things, like, wait, what the fuck is that? Like, what is that? Some kind of like parody team or something?
Yeah. I love how it's like Garo Mark of the Wolves, and I'm like, oh right, it's the title from the fighting game, and
But
then
then it's Sonic in the
picture of
Black
Golden.
Knight.
Yeah, Black Knight Sonic armor. supersonic form. I'm like, oh my god, you piece of.
Ah,
Oh, oh, this is good. Their Sentai
wow.
team is the French team,
I I
the French, the French Sentai parody. Oh, Ultraman commenting tax fraud. Oh, oh, nice.
and
The
like
fucking
as I was starting to
Chinese one.
say Black 2, I clicked on it and realized it just says like 3 episodes of Black that I found
On
on YouTube in
YouTube.
2008.
Oh my god,
Like
so
I woke
good.
up this morning being like, man, April Fool's is so played out. Like I'm not gonna bother with that. This is the
Yeah,
only thing that I've actually come across all day, and it's like, you know what? That was good.
fuck. You played us
Okay,
so well.
live on our balls exposed live on stream.
I thought we dropped this catchphrase, but fuck it. Only time I only time it works. Now wait and see if TVN drops a version 4.1. Let me see. Oh shit, they did. They did.
Oh,
Mushin Sentai Kiramager Kiramaki Movie Volume 2 version 4.1. Oh my god, even they dropped it. Fuck your pandemic. TVN does not stop. Oh my god. Yep. Yep. This fucking piece of work.
Grego is having the biggest laugh at our expense right
uh,
now.
Can't
Okay.
wait to watch Toku with ads. I'm like, that is an interesting point. Um, Toei started releasing Rider online. You said you were gonna link into it. Did you see any of it?
Uh,
It's the original series, I think.
yes, they did. There was this thing about the original Kamen Rider. I haven't sat down for that yet because that's a commitment to make. But that is something I'm gonna be looking into. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
original
honestly, yeah,
Rider is gonna be available for stream outside of
yeah,
Japan. Like that's great.
right. The best comment also from Drago, it's like, yeah, only for Toei to fucking start releasing Rider to test. They also have a YouTube account. Like last time I checked, that account's been there since 2008. It had nothing on it. Maybe they started adding videos. I don't know. I did subscribe. I haven't seen anything pop up on it yet. Hopefully, Toei gets their shit together. I don't know. I mean, their studio is kind of in a tough spot right now, so we'll see what happens. Um, then again, like Toei has other branches too. They have like an animation stuff, so it's not like they're going under or anything. I mean, for God's sakes, that's why they have the Pretty Cure crossover with Deno, because they own Pretty Cure, right? Um, or actually, they make it. Yeah,
I have no idea. Uh, I've actually been thinking about sitting down to watch Pretty Cure at some point.
yeah. It seems like it would be interesting. I mean, like it's just Toei's Sailor Moon, so why not, right? Um, that being said, this episode without that fucking goddamn April Fool's, god damn it, even the emoji and
Okay,
everything.
so so
Yeah,
back to Ryder though. But basically, yeah. So Bowser's whole character arc has been getting to this moment where he is at now. So he is at the height of his arc. This is literally like what he's been aiming for. So
yeah.
now all
So
that's left is for the downfall. So how
right,
much longer can he last? How much
I
more
feel
can
like
he be the villain?
he can only be the villain for power, and we're not near the end, so we can't drag this out. In which case, like
I
5 to 6 episodes.
I want to say 4 episodes is what I would be comfortable with of just like set up to everyone like agreeing to work together to beat him and then the actual fight against him. However, I could
Right.
see it going a bit longer than that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, you do have to have the Yua redemption arc, so it might pad it out a little bit. But yeah, I would give it. It's got to be less than 10. There's no way they can drag this
Like
out more
honestly,
than 10.
if it goes to 8, I'm
Yeah,
considering from like the entire like thing its own arc.
yeah. I feel like this is the next arc at this point because like everybody has to
Like
fight this
the
guy now.
Zaya owns Hiden arc.
Yeah, or pretty much because like okay, like there's the only way this ends is Yua becomes president of Zaya and then like president of Hidan.
That's my next
because
question of like
because Hidan is now a subsidiary of Zaya, right? But there's no guarantee that Yua will become president of Zaya because this is Zaya Japan. Zaya is a worldwide corporation. In which case, if you take a guy, you could have another person show up to take over Zaya.
I mean
I mean, that's pretty much how Shocker works, but like I don't know how this show will handle it.
it like that's the thing though, is like is Thou no, Thouser inherited his company from his father, didn't he? I want to
Maybe, yeah. But he said this is Zaya Japan, part of Zaya Worldwide. That's why their broadcast was in English, because they're
right.
a worldwide corporation.
But I think like his branch might be like HQ.
It could be, not sure, but it's possible. We'll see. But yeah, you're right. I feel like 8 episodes max this can take. Also, Drago saying the Pretty Cure Deno movie is in live action. Is it fully live action or is it
Huh.
going to be half an?
Oh, I thought it was fully live action.
Huh. That's going to be interesting. I wonder if they're going to make new Pretty Cure just for this live action version.
I don't know. I don't
That
know
would be
anything about
interesting.
Pretty Cure.
I mean, like imagine Sailor Moon just different.
Just different. Let's
Like
see.
like imagine if Sailor Moon was a so they like each new season is a different Sentai. That's basically what Pretty Cure is.
And it's been going on
Like
for
20 years.
almost, yeah, actually. They've
Yeah.
had 17 series, and some of them are just sequels to others, according to this brief look at Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, um it's gonna be interesting because like honestly, fuck it. You know what? Hiatus, we can look into some Pretty Cure. Why not? Did you guys do that Marvelous Ladybug season 3 yet?
That is happening this weekend, this Sunday
Nice.
on this channel.
Okay. Really? I thought you were gonna do it on Vashik, but whatever, it's fine.
Apparently, we've done the other ones on this channel, so we're going to keep that going.
Ah, okay, that's fine. Um, yeah, either way, really good episode. You like this is like the final straw for her arc because like goddamn, let this not be dragged out. Also, guy, like you've way overstayed your welcome. Like piss off. You get one
Right.
more small arc. That's about it.
Like,
But
you,
other than that, this was really solid. So,
yeah, great episode. Yua, like, I've been patient with Yua because I've been hoping for this, where, like, they explain why she was in the sidelines and, like, they give her a redeeming arc. So now, give her the redemption arc, and just don't drop the ball because I've been patient, but, like, if Yua doesn't do anything from here, then everything everyone has been saying has been right.
right, like this character is so good, she deserves a redemption. And this is the perfect time to do it. It's also interesting. Like I really fuck the hell like the arc and Jin because like that's like a civil war thing going on there, especially with like the human gear being dumped out. Like I wonder if Jin is gonna collect some for himself. Um, because you know like the arc is definitely gonna collect some, but like if Jin has his own faction, that's gonna be interesting.
And then we just start getting, like, the Warren tribes.
Why not? It'd be cool. I mean, like, you know what? Fuck it. Why not? It would be really interesting because then it'd be a three-sided war. there's the like Hidan faction of like, hey, coexist with humans. There's the Jin faction of like, fuck the humans, fuck the Ark, just live for yourself. And then the Ark one is like all under my control. Let's destroy the humans. That's gonna be super interesting.
So, who do you think the final boss is going to be? Hirobi or Jin?
Hmm. I feel like it's gonna be Hirobi
Go
because
with the
Jin,
Arc?
yeah, with the Ark because I feel like we have to take out the Ark, but like Hirobi has a more likely chance of coming to the good guy's side, whereas like I think I mean Jin has a more likely side of coming to the good guy's side.
Like
Hirobi
agreeing with Aruto of like, alright, maybe we can work
and
together.
coexist, yeah, yeah, or at least like I'm willing to put this aside for now. But like, yeah, he's most likely gonna come to the conclusion that they can coexist. Uh, but that would all depend on who the fuck built him. Because if he comes out and like he and they're also crazy, like fuck it, they're both getting destroyed. Unless we take out the Ark and we rescue Hirobi, and Jin's faction's even more crazy in the Ark, and it's like that's pretty rare chance of that happening, but that's the only way I see Hirobi coming over and not Jin. I see it more likely both of them get destroyed or Jin joins the good guys.
Alright. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We will not be returning to the weekly Power Rangers Beast Morphs podcast. We will do a couple podcasts just going over the first and then second half of the seasons. So look forward to those sometime in the future. We'll be doing our special podcast on Miraculous Ladybug Season 3 this Sunday, and we'll be back on Tuesday for more Kira Major. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for joining.